Hi, I'm Dr. Tronél Hellberg, and welcome to G-sential Theory of Music's YouTube channel. Now, today I'm going to look at the didactics of sight reading. So let me share my presentation with you. The first thing that I would like to talk about is instrument-specific considerations. Then I'm going to look at things that you need to know when it gets to sight reading. And then lastly, I'm going to share my 60-second plan with you. Now, instrument-specific considerations. Now, I'm a classical guitarist, and the things that classical guitarists, well, learners especially struggle with, first of all, is playing keys with flats as key signatures. So one flat is still okay, two flats starting to get a bit more tricky, but from three flats onwards, learners struggle with that. Okay, so that's something that one needs to specifically work on when it gets to classical guitar students. Another thing is the different notes and where you can play them on the guitar. So if you take, for example, middle C, there are several places on the guitar that you'll find middle C, and learners need to know where they can find it. Now let's move on to the second point, and that is what you need to know as a teacher. Now this might seem obvious, but I'm going to mention it in any way. So it's not something that you can leave to your learners and trust that they're actually going to do it. You need to actively help them, guide them during class, and then also give them exercises to go and practice at home, but follow up. Ask them, did you actually do this exercise? And it's great that they say yes, but check it, okay? Take that exercise and see if they actually show progress and if they can do it. Okay, then the second thing is work on their psychology. And of course, a great start there is to play duets with your learners, or maybe there are two learners that can play duets together. Let them join an ensemble, but that group interaction just makes it more natural and more enjoyable. Sorry. Then the second thing is tell your learners when you get a sight reading piece, pretend it's a piece that you saw and now you're curious about it and you just want to try it out and see how it sounds. Okay, that just takes the edge out of sight reading, you know, this difficult thing that causes a lot of anxiety in exams. And then you have to coach them on this, especially if they are classical musicians. And classical musicians, well, I suppose musicians in general, but I really think classical musicians tend to be very hard on themselves. If you make a mistake, you beat yourself up. So you have to tell them, listen, it's perfectly normal to make mistakes. You know, it's sight reading. You are going to make mistakes. But you know what? It's not the end of the world. Your job is to stay focused, stay in the moment with what you're playing right now. So if you made a mistake, it is what it is. You can't change it. Move on. Okay? Because you would also know from your own experience that once you start thinking about this mistake while you continue playing, you are going to just keep on stumbling and make more mistakes and get more nervous. Then a very common mistake is that, learners feel anxious, which is perfectly understandable. And they know I only have 30 seconds or 60 seconds to study this. So they just dive straight into it. So they don't think in terms of key, of pitch, of meter, of rhythm. They just want to go through it. Okay, that's their aim. So with that approach, they have a preconceived idea of what the key is. Maybe they're going to expect it's a major key, and when they play it, if they're lucky, they find out it's a minor. And while they're playing, they need to make this shift. So proper analysis is so important beforehand. You need to drill that into them, that take a breath and first analyze. You're going to save time, you're going to play better if you actually do it that way. Then it's your responsibility as a teacher to make sure that your learners are aware of the fact that they are allowed to, whether they're allowed to feel and play through the piece, or if they just allowed to feel through the piece. In other words, they're not allowed to play through it. So this obviously would depend on the examining board. So you need to know what the rules are. Okay, and then you also need to make them aware of the fact that they need to practice these sight reading exercises, or maybe other exercises that you give them to strengthen their rhythm or their pitch, whatever it is that you want to give them. You need to make sure that they know, I need to integrate this into my daily practice. It's not something that I can just do now and then. Okay, then in class, you need to work on those instrument-specific challenges and do clapping exercises with your learners. They need to be solid in terms of their rhythm. Then you also need to give them suitable exercises that they can practice at home. So exercises, so first of all, obviously, sight reading, actual pieces of music that they can go and explore and practice. But then also exercises that addresses instrument-specific challenges. You need to give them rhythm exercises, and if necessary, pitch exercises, like in the case of the guitar. And maybe they, as an individual, struggle with a specific component, so then you give them exercises to address that. Okay, now I'm going to jump into some examples, and I'm basically going to combine the first two bullets here. So that's the instrument-specific challenges as well as pitch, and in the case of the guitar, positions. And then I'm going to look at some rhythmic exercises. Now, in the guitar, like I already said, it is challenging to play in different positions or to learn new positions, but you also need to learn where you can find different notes in different positions, because sometimes a combination of notes can work well in one position but not in another position. So over here you can see it's a note reading study in the third position, and it's got wonderful accidentals. So this is really a very good drill for the learners to learn their notes and be quick to actually recognize all of them. Then again, for the guitar, this is also something that other instruments with that's playing double stops, the piano also needs to do, and that is the identification of chords. You need to be quick to actually analyze what you see in a specific chord and relate that to your instrument. Good. And now I'm going to look at some rhythmic exercises. Now, this first exercise, I really love it because it's so, what's the word I'm looking for? Accumulative. Okay. So first of all, the time signature is cut time. So we have 2 minim beats in a bar. And now the bar starts with 4 crotchets. 2 minims, and you can see how it progressively gets more intricate, having the triplet quavers, but also the triplet crotchets, semiquavers, etc. Now, the next exercise is definitely a more challenging one. So obviously you need to build up to get to such a level, but the more complicated the more complicated exercises learners can do, the easier it will be for them in their exams. Okay, so wonderful variety of different rhythms, syncopation that you find in this exercise. Okay, then you have to also ensure that your learners are identifying the key fit. So the quicker they can correctly identify the key, the more time they have for other aspects to pay attention to during their preparation time. And, you know, don't take it or just don't assume that they know how to identify keys. It's the one thing that I've seen in theory so often, that learners struggle with key signatures and they struggle to identify the key, even though you've taught it to them over and over and over. Good. And then you also need to make sure that your learners know the following. And that is that they shouldn't waste time by trying to battle through the whole piece, because typically what happens is they just dive into it without doing a proper analysis beforehand, and then they get stuck at parts, and so much time and energy goes into a specific bar or a beat, and before they know it, the examiner says, okay, time up, you need to play. So you need to tell them they really just have, say, for example, 60 seconds to prepare a specific sight reading exercise. And you need to stick to that time when you do it with them. In your lessons, they need to practice sticking to that time when they are practicing at home. And then, obviously, they have to, well, I say obviously, but this is not the given. But it's recommended that they actually have a plan that they can work according to for their sight reading. So I'm going to share my plan with you. Okay, here's my 60-second plan. Of course, you are welcome to adapt it. Okay, so 3 seconds to determine the key. So they will have to time themselves, and they will have to work on their time to bring it down to 3 seconds. Then 10 seconds to really internalize the time signature, the feeling of the beat, the note values within each beat. Okay, this is very important when it gets to compound time, but also cut time. They need to ask themselves, how many beats are there in this bar? What is the value of the beat? Okay, how am I going to fit in these notes within these beats? So typically, if they would get a triplet over crotchets, that's going to throw them. But if they realize it is cut time, then suddenly it becomes easy, because they realize, oh, okay, I've got 2 beats and I need to put this triplet within a specific beat. Then 4 seconds to identify what's happening here. So, you know, if you just zoom out, I mean, if that examiner puts the sight reading piece in front of them, they already can see these places that intimidate them. Okay, so those places can be pitch, it can be rhythm, it can maybe be, in the case of guitar, position that they realize they'll have to have a look. So they just need to be aware of those areas that they need to specifically pay attention to and focus on in their preparation. Then 15 seconds for rhythm. So just one quick scan through it. Identify once again the trouble spots that you know, okay, I need to work on this. I mean, it's not necessary to pay too much attention to a ball consisting of crotchets and quavers. So scan through it and see where the parts are that they need to work on. Okay, and then exactly the same, 15 seconds for pitch, and identify the trouble spots and figure out how they're going to address it. Then 3 seconds for performance indications, so tempo, character, dynamics, articulation, things like that. And it's very important for learners to make this part of their practice routine as well. Otherwise, they're going to leave it out. Okay, but you and I know if the rhythm is there, if the pitches are there, they already passed it. Okay, so it's not the end of the world if they don't spend time on the performance indications, but it would be good. Also tell them it's better to take it slower. Okay, you can't start fast and make a big mess, and halfway through you realize, oh my gosh, I need to start over, or you slow down rapidly. So tell them rather just take it slower. Okay, lose 1 mark rather than 6 marks. And then just 10 seconds to take a final look at the difficult parts. So I'm going to share this with you. So it's a grade 5 sight reading piece. So first of all, identify the key. So now the learner sees 3 sharp, so that can mean A major, it can mean F sharp minor, but the last chord confirms that it is A major, and we also don't find any raised leading tones that might indicate that it's in F sharp minor. Okay, so the key is a done deal. Then 10 seconds to internalize the time signature, the feeling of the beat. Really just get into the beat. Okay, so it means there are 2 minim beats in a bar. Okay, I'm starting with an upbeat, so that is the middle of the second beat. Okay, so it's a 2 add. Then it's 1 beat, and then the second beat is a triplet. And then, so if they understand that the triplet fills the whole beat, then that is great. And suddenly the fact that it's crotchets with a triplet doesn't bother them that much anymore. But if they fail to notice it's cut time, they thought it's a 4/4, this is a problem. Okay, because then they need to think how they're going to split it over 2 beats. Now, having realized this, it also sorts out any other triplets that they might get. Okay, then this might be a trigger in terms of the pitch, because they realize, ooh, this note is in the 5th fret. So what am I going to do there? Am I going to move into the 3rd position, the 2nd position? Then this will catch their attention because it's chords. How do I play this? With which fingers am I going to play it? And then the same goes for any other chords. Then here, it's just rhythm. So again, they need to realize that this is the 1st beat and that is the 2nd beat. So they basically dividing the beat into 4 units. Same here. And then here, yes, how am I going to play that? Which fingers am I going to use? Where is it on the fretboard? And then lastly, this last part for a guitarist at that level is going to be challenging. So they need to decide, okay, I'm going to play this in the 5th position. Which strings are involved? Which fingers are involved? Okay. So obviously my analysis here didn't take 60 seconds, but if you're going to stick to that 60-second plan, they really going to have a good feel of the piece, and they will actually feel quite confident that they will be able to do it. Okay, and then just lastly, you have to regularly go through sight reading with your learners and time them in order for them to really grasp how little time they have and how to make the most of it. Okay, so using the 60-second plan. And the more they do it, the better the chances they'll apply it in the exam. Because that's the thing. It's one thing to tell them something, but unless they're going to get used to the method and know how to plan their sight reading, once I get in the exam, that fight or flight mode is going to kick in, and they're just going to dive into the piece unless they're used to working with a plan. I trust that you found this helpful and that it's going to make your life as a teacher and your learners' lives a lot easier when it gets to sight reading.